Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.
But Don Nealon's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread. As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football. Here is Harris in trouble. Stiff arms. A would-be tackler comes down over the 25 to 20. Goes around about it to 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
Takes the Slater one-on-one with a defender. Look at that one.
West Virginia football. They don't know what that's about. They don't know what it's about. West Virginia football. Put all our tape on.
Let them know. Leave no doubt tonight. Leave no doubt tonight. No doubt. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome to another edition of the Country Roads webcast. This is the Q&A edition where we kind of have really no direct point of emphasis. We let you guys in the chats really determine where we go with it. We got my co-host Bradley joining me here in just the next few once we get into it. But yeah, I guess we'll really talk about the main points that everybody's got on their mind, which is Neal Brown and whether he should be the head coach of West Virginia football any longer, and you know what we think of that. I'll probably try to get Bradley's thoughts on what he thought about what he thinks about the Towson matchup, since he wasn't able to join that episode. But while we wait on him to get in here, why don't we speak of the devil?
Yeah, here I am.
There he is, right on time.
Yeah. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
A little bit of technical difficulties on Bradley's end tonight, I reckon. But I guess we'll kind of let everybody roll in here. If you got anything y'all want to talk about tonight, which is probably Neal Brown and the coaching staff, or if you have any bright spots you want to talk about, we can even talk about that. How you doing? How you doing, Baxter Mallory? How you doing tonight, brother? Hopefully we can get Bradley back here in just a second. But yeah, if we got anything y'all want to talk about tonight, I guess the main thing that I want to talk about is how the team is going to play against this Towson team, because I'd like to see a team that doesn't come out and play down to their competition. Like we all know, the West Virginia has the ability to do at times. But I'm fully expecting them to come out fully pumped up. Everybody that I've heard in their press conferences this week, other than one that I talked about a few episodes ago, has been quite encouraging. I would be willing to say. Get into some chats here. Candyman 2055. Here's my grip for the day. Neal and now Tony Washington have made the comment that nobody's opinion outside of this building matters. Clear shot at fans, and Neal has done it multiple times. Yeah, I actually said that in our last episode that was kind of a slap in the fan base. he went on to say after that we could be, we're 0-2, but we could be 2-0, but we're 0-2. He said I could be an NFL player if I ran a little bit faster too. Yeah. And here's another comment from Eric Cruz. Yeah, same thing. Don't accept criticism from anybody you wouldn't take advice from. And I mean, if you're not taking advice from the coaching staff or from the fan base, I get it. You're not going to take advice from everybody in the fan base, but man, that was not the comment you want to make when you're on a hot seat if you're the head coach in that position.
Yeah, definitely when you're taking shots at the fans for being upset with your performance over 4 years is not ideal.
No, not when you started off with the worst record, the worst starting record for a coach in however many decades now. But yeah, before you got in here, Bradley, I was just kind of touching on a few points. I was going to get your, since you wasn't able to join on the Towson preview, we kind of didn't really get too much into the matchups or anything like that because it is Towson, and we didn't really think that it, since it was deserved to get into it that deep. But just generally, what are your thoughts? What are you expecting this weekend? What do you want to see this weekend?
Yeah, so my big thing, and I feel like I had kind of touched on this on the post game, I think that I did with just Jordan, is, Neil Brown has had a tendency to play super conservative, uber conservative, and has yet to make that or take a chance like on anybody. We saw Jarrett Dagey stick through it. We saw struggles last year at certain positions that we just really didn't change up. You saw Malachi Ruffin, a walk-on, play a significant portion of the game last game in Kansas when, off the jump, Mumu bin Wahad got to come in. He got to come in and play against Pitt. And so why is, Malachi Ruffin, I know he might have been had the best week of practice, but it just didn't make sense to me as to why we didn't see him play. And so I'm really wanting to see new guys, and that's really what I'm wanting to see this game is if Malachi Ruffin goes back out there, I'm going to be upset. Our linebackers have not looked great. If I don't see new people, I'm going to be upset. I want to see Jacoby Spells. I want to see Mumu. I want to see Trey Lathan. I want to see Tyreek Austin Cave is healthy. I want to see him. I want to see effort. I want to see some kind of change. Because if you just send out there the same 11 on both sides of the ball that we saw against Kansas and try to say, hey, look, this is what this product can look like, I'm going to be pissed. Because, it's Towson. You're not going to convince me that, all of a sudden those 11 that you had out against Kansas are significantly better now because they're playing better against Towson. It's not going to go over with me. I'm not going to be happy with that. We've got, Weston McCormick and Ashad Ajayi have been mediocre at best, and I hate to say that, but it's the truth. And, they went to FCS for a reason, and I know they balled out there, and they did great, and they did, whatever, and, they went to these lesser programs. It is what it is, but, Jacoby Spells was the top recruit in our class last year. If we want to keep him, he needs to get playing time. Mumu bin Wahad, they've been praising his name left and right and talking about how he came from this high pedigree high school. Well, let's see it, He's a Division I recruit, at least. No offense, but it's the truth. And trying to give me the same product out there is really going to make me mad. So that's what I'm looking at is, what we doing. And I was listening to another podcast today, and they had brought up the fact that our line can't look just good. Our line's got to look great. If our offensive line with Jordan White coming back doesn't play almost flawless football, if one man lays a hand on JT Daniels, I'm going to be mad, because it's just like these guys shouldn't even be on the field with us. And realistically, Kansas shouldn't have been either. I do think that Kansas is a lot better team this year. But still, our offensive line should be absolutely dominant and shouldn't even have zero quarterback pressures. They should have zero quarterback pressures this weekend. It's just how it should go over. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, yeah, it's just, but that's my initial, we can talk about it more as we get into it. But yeah, I I need to see effort. I need to see change. And Neil Brown, for the first time, has kind of brought that up and said that in his, interview, saying, new guys need a look. But he said it before, and he's not done it before. So I can't trust him. I can't trust him, and that sucks because, it's got to that point where you can't trust what he says. You can't. So until he shows me otherwise, that's how I feel.
I'm kind of like you. I want to see as many new pieces as possible to make the thing fit. I think that you want to see against a Towson team, that's nowhere near your level. You want to see some domination on all facets of the game. So you really want to see, no matter who you put in the game this week, that. I want you want to see everybody come out and play their assignments right and do exactly what they're supposed to against a lower level Towson team. But we'll get back into some of these comments. Eric Cruz again mentioned, like we did, that we're, Neil said it, that we're going to see, a few of these young guys, but we do all know that he has the tendency to say one thing and do the exact opposite.
Absolutely different. Yeah.
Silas agrees with you. He says, "Preach, Big Bubba." Welcome back, Silas, again. The one and only
Jay Cruz.
Jordan Cruz. What's up, boys? Head coach Neil Brown mentioned they were going to look at where they were playing people in the linebacker group. Thoughts on what this could mean, or any speculation on who could move there? What do you think, Brad? I know you had a lot of guys you wanted to see on that side of the ball. Who would you like to see over there?
Yeah, and so I think the linebackers have been probably the most disappointing group this year so far. Because the wide receivers, BFW has shown out. I know a lot of people worried about that. At least we have one great wide receiver. I think Caden Prather is going to be set. Sorry, I kind of jumped off of that, but but there was a lot of expectations. I guess that's a better way to dive into it. There was a lot of expectations for our linebackers. We heard a lot about Lika Pogba. Them saying he's been great. Lance Dixon, I have a lot of expectations for Lance Dixon. I still think that Lance Dixon is going to be great. I do think that he's playing in the wrong position. And I think that he's going to have to be moved around, because I think that he's just got a better idea. It seems like our linebackers are always in the wrong place at every time. I want to say at the wrong place at the wrong times, but it seems like they're at the wrong place all the time.
Yeah.
And I think Lika Pogba kind of makes up for it in his athleticism. The guy is just a freak athlete. He can get around, but I think he just plays too wild and loose to kind of play middle linebacker. So I think I would like to see Tyreek Austin Cave in there, give that a shot, maybe move Lance Dixon over into that spot. I want to see Asani Redwood. I know he's not necessarily a linebacker, but he might play bandit. Maybe we can move, Jared Bartlett or who's the other one? Is it Linnell Carr that's over there?
Linnell Carr, that was who's
No, it's Grayson Melishevich who plays Spear over there.
Linnell Carr already plays outside backer a little bit though.
Yeah, but somebody, Trey Lathan, I know that he's super fresh and super young, and we really don't know what he's going to look like in there. And, but we've already seen mistakes from, we're already seeing consistent mistakes from guys that have, Lance Dixon's getting up there in his years. Lika Pogba's been, I think he's a redshirt sophomore, maybe a junior. But it's you're seeing these mistakes from these guys. What's the difference between that and a freshman that, might actually learn from those mistakes? Because, insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different outcome. So you have to do something, anything more. Extra Low's played a lot of football, but yeah. And I think Jordan just said you could pull it up if you want to. It says, I don't know why, but I was thinking Pogba Bandit could be interesting if Mike isn't working out. Just who would play Mike linebacker in his place would be the question and the issue then. And I get that, yeah, because I think that you really want a scrappy guy playing bandit, and I think that's why Jarrett Bartlett's kind of good at that position. And maybe Pogba would really pin his ears back and be able to run loose at that. But yeah, I think that Mike linebacker is just a really, really weak spot for us right now, which is where I like Lance Dixon. I don't think he has the exact body type for it, but I think that he's got the experience and the discipline to kind of make use of that role better than Lika Pogba at the moment.
Yeah, I got you. there's a lot of pieces, I guess, that you could fit at that position. I guess I'm really disappointed because I thought Lee Coble was going to be really, that guy to fill in.
They hyped him up a
Josh
lot. He got
Campbell-Demito.
so much. I think that there was some bickering between him and Josh Chandler-Samito after Josh left, and so it's like everybody expected Lee Coble to come in here and like they said to themselves like you're going to see him on the field, like you're going to be able to pick him out and just know that he loves football. And it's like don't know about that one.
Yeah, but I mean, all around on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to have to find some pieces because, news coming out today that Charles Woods is going to get, have ankle surgery, so he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. They're hopeful
I actually
that he
didn't
will be
see that.
back.
That's brand news to me.
Yeah, that hopefully that he will be back before the end of the season. But he is out for the foreseeable future, so that is going to be hurtful for this Mountaineer defense, which did struggle for a great bit against Kansas. But I guess you could look at the Pitt game as a somewhat of a bright spot because they did, they played well in that game. Up until this past week, everybody thought that we should be a ranked football team. So is it more so of them playing down to their competition? It seems like this defense can play well if they need to. So it really is just a matter of like what we've been talking about and placing the pieces where they need to be placed and who is going to be able to be put in the game that wants to play.
Yeah, and I think that like looking at it, talking about the most disappointing group so far, I would say the D-line's right there too. Dante Stills didn't show up against Kansas, and no knocks against Dante Stills. The guy is a monster. He's probably going to be an NFL player, but he didn't show up. And like there were several times in that game that you would just see the defensive line just turn around and throw their hands up at the backs and be like, what are you guys doing? But you guys weren't getting pressure either. And I know that, they were running every which way, but other than Sean Martin, I couldn't tell you one person on the defensive line that played well. Taj also definitely didn't look good. Jordan Jefferson, he doesn't – his position and his, body type just isn't conducive to, big plays, but still, they were running it up the middle, and that's supposed to be his job is to clog that up. So.
Yeah. And, I guess it's such a hard pill to swallow because, that's been the one consistent thing that we've seen in the Neil Brown era is defense and good tackling and things like that. And then you get to this year and it's complete opposite. You have arm tackling, you have, very inconsistent defensive style of play. But I don't know, man. I don't know what it's going to take. I really think that this team is just hard to gauge. I love watching them on offense because, other than offensive line at times, I think that has been a really fun, the funnest thing to watch on the field.
Yeah, JT Daniels is special. Absolutely, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that kid's smart.
That's what I'm saying. His arm talent alone is going to win us games. This feels a lot like – honestly, to me, it feels a lot like the Geno Smith year where we just had no defense and it's just going to be up to, our offense to drop, 70 points on a Baylor. It's what it's going to take. And today's Big 12, defenses are much better in the Big 12 today than they've even been in the last handful of years. And so, it's a lot tougher than that. And, Geno Smith had Tavon Austin and Stedman Bailey. Are we going to see that with Bryce Ford-Wheaton and Caden Prather? I don't know. But that's what it's going to take to win 7 games this year.
Yeah. And then that's what we talked about on the last show. We're hard on him because this is the first time that we've started 0-2 in several decades. We don't want to, decline back into that type of a program where you expect that type of mediocrity every year. So, that's why we're all hitting the panic button right now. But we all have to remember that there is time that they could get things corrected. So hopefully, hopefully they prove us wrong, with as hard as we've been on them and it's as much criticism that we show them. I hope that they prove us wrong, but
and I think that our view on it, and I think that we're pretty together as a group on this, is that we still support the team 100%. I'm going to watch the games. I'm going to cheer for my guys. I want to see them do well, but I'm going to be absolutely critical of the coaching. And
Oh, absolutely. We deserve
I think
to
that's
be.
where we're at because, I say me and Paul Riggs, we've had a good little chat going on Twitter just about back and forth. And, he's still been very supportive of the coaching staff. And I get it, man. Like, I get the sentiment. I get the feelings. I get the want. But at the same time, there's just so many things that have there's such a culmination of things right now that, like, you can't overlook it. You just can't. Because by not doing that, then I'm continued to do this like I did with Dana Holgorsen. And I can't. I told myself I wouldn't let myself do it, and I'm not letting myself do it. I've got every right to be extremely critical of Neil Brown to the point where I took a nap after work today and I had a dream about having a meeting with Neil Brown and asking him what the fuck was going on. Sorry for the language, but literally it was in my dreams. That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we on the show, we were very supportive of Dana Holgorsen and his staff for a very long time, and we dealt with how that went for a long time, and I think that's why we're very early to hit the panic button on this guy. Well, if you could call it early, year 4, I think that this isn't early at all.
I think we've been very reasonable. I mean, we have been on the Neil Brown train.
No doubt. Which, I mean, that just shows you how much the game of college football and college athletics in a whole has changed over the years, because that's, usually what you would give a guy, however when, and then now it's changed to, you got a year and a half, see Lance Leipold at Kansas, as I mentioned on the last episode. It took not even 2 years ago. He got to Kansas, not even last spring.
Mm-hmm.
And
now that was my thing with the good old Paul Riggs, and I love Paul. Paul's a great Mountaineer fan, but he was bringing up, we're still rebuilding. They didn't build Rome in a day, and I was like, yeah, but Marshall's head coach has a better win at Marshall than Neil Brown has at West Virginia University in half as much time.
Yeah, I mentioned something.
It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse.
I mentioned something to Cruz earlier. We were messaging back and forth, and I said, he messaged me the news about Charles Woods, and I sent him. I said, man, it's a curse. It's got to be a curse. I think it's a curse. He called it the Bill Stewart curse. I said, the only way we're going to have to right this wrong is we're going to have to hire Blaine Stewart as an assistant coach, not as a head coach. I don't think he's at that point yet.
Yeah.
But what a hire that would be. I say it as jokes, but not that wouldn't be a bad hire. Obviously Blaine Stewart's the wide receiver coach at the Pittsburgh Steelers organization right now. But if you could ever get that guy to Morgantown, I think that would be a great offensive hire.
Mm-hmm.
To maybe fix that curse. But
yeah,
Jordan Cruz, the one and only host of the Country Roads webcast, says, got a feeling Sean Martin will be starting at defensive end Saturday over Taj Austin. I also think that as well. I think from what Neil Brown said in this press conference, he said Sean Martin deserves more playing time. He does deserve to start, and I think everybody in this fan base and everybody in the chat, from what I can tell, absolutely agrees with that. I think you would also
and that's one of those things where Neil Brown better not appease Taj Austin. There needs to be consequences for your actions. There has to be. You had an absolutely selfish penalty, like Neil Brown said. There has to be repercussions for that. And letting Taj Austin go out and start just to appease him is bullshit. Can't do it. Sean Merton has played great this year so far. He could have a stellar year ahead of him. He's looked awesome through 2 games. He deserves a start. He needs to get playing time.
Yep, and the more playing time that he has gotten, the more that he has turned heads. And I think that
the guy is huge.
He's a
6'6" defensive end. He's a matchup nightmare.
Well, he even said it in him and Jordan Leslie said it in the press conferences earlier in the week that the only reason that he hadn't been playing before is that he hadn't been strong enough to control his body. Meaning that his body has been so big that he needed to gain muscle mass and the extra weight to be able to have that strength to be able to get leverage on guys and be able to have the speed to get around, because like he said, otherwise you're just big and tall and you can run fast. You don't really have any athleticism besides that. And I would like to point that out. It's comments like that from Jordan Leslie that really make me optimistic, I guess you could say, about what we could do, heading forward with the defense, because that really, thinking about it, that really is the one bad game you can think about that the defense has cost us a game in the past 4 years. So, I mean, if you think about it that way, Jordan Leslie definitely has shown that he can get things corrected. And he's definitely shown that he's a good defensive coordinator. Excuse me. So I guess that's a positive, and that does make me optimistic. So
Yeah, and I think that's just going to come down to because, like, I think that's why it sucks is that I know that our defensive struggles are because of transfers, new guys. I mean, we got a brand new defense, losing Akeem Mesdor. Like, it's tough, and like I hate that it's fallen on Jordan Leslie and his squad as to why we are losing games, but we're also losing games because of poor coaching, and so I think that it's really going to come down to can JT Daniels and Bryce Ford Wheaton and Caden Prather in our offense win enough games to save Neil Brown's job to let him have another crack at it next year. And that's something we can talk about in a little bit once we catch up on some more comments. But that's something I do want to talk about.
I've been trying to catch up on them. There's a lot of them going on. I'm just going to kind of apologies to anybody that I've missed, but I'm going to kind of just jump forward here. We'll go with Eric Cruz here. It says, Neil seems like he's afraid of hurting players' feelings or something. You're the head coach. You got to let players and the other coaches know what's up. I absolutely agree with that comment. I think that I think as a head coach, you shouldn't be one that's afraid to hurt feelings. It's okay to have, empathy towards your players, and it's okay to have love for your guys. But, at the end of the day, it's a business decision. You got to do what's best for the team and what's best for the program. And I don't think that he's been someone that's done that, especially if you think about the situation with Jared Deggy and those types of things. That's just exhibit A. I could go on, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like we went from like one extreme with Dan Holgerson to like the other extreme from the Brown.
Right.
It's like we went from a guy that didn't care to hurt anybody's feelings, would probably do it to the detriment, and didn't really care about his players at all. He was an X's and O's guy. He loved Will Greer. He loved his big players. But if he probably didn't know the rest of the players' names on his team. That's realistic. I honestly think that was probably, Dante still says he never talked to Daniel Holgerson one day the whole entire time he was there. And now you got Neil Brown that probably knows every guy on the team, their mother, their father, their third cousin. But he's not making the decisions that he needs to win because he's afraid of hurting people's feelings. I think that's absolutely spot on there, Eric.
Yeah, and I mean,
gotta find that.
I love him as a guy. He's a great guy, and that's why I hate it, because I would, the only thing that he's not is a winner. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing he's not. He's a great guy. He's a wonderful, guy in the community. He's a wonderful recruiter. He has a great culture, around the program. He just doesn't win games at the end of the day. And, that's the part you have to do at Braxton Mallory says, I guarantee if Sean Martin starts, Taj Austin hits the portal. I disagree with that. I don't think that.
I think he might too.
I don't disagree. I don't agree with that necessarily. I think that there's still time in this season. It's only week 3. We're really hard on them because we just lost to Kansas at home in the night game, and it's really hard coming off of that emotional pit game like that one was. But we got to remember, it's still week 3. There's still time to get things cleaned up, and just because he doesn't start doesn't mean that he's not going to get significant play in time.
Yeah, I just don't. It's all going to come down to his character, and I can't speak for his character, so I guess it's wrong of me to say that I think he might hit the portal. But
right.
If he takes it as a challenge, I lost my job, I got to earn it back. Great, that's what we need. But in today, man, it's harder and harder to believe that kids have that.
Yeah, which is true. Kids, have less and shorter and shorter of a fuse when it comes to hitting that transfer portal. Especially when there's no real limit on when they can. That's what there should be, in my opinion. If anything, is a time limit on when you can and can't hit the portal. I think that it's not a good idea to have to where you can hit, just up and hit the portal in the middle of the season like it has been.
Like the LSU wide receiver, whoever it was, he was pretty much in the portal halfway through the first game.
Oh yeah, he just pretty much gave up. Says Baxter Mallory says, I agree that penalty was totally selfish, but up until this point, Austin has been dependable and at times exceptional. That being said, if Sean Martin is truly ready, he should be able to start, and that's what I think we would all agree with. And I think that if we would, if you've been watching Sean Martin over the last year or so, and especially the first few games, he has absolutely improved. Cruz back again saying, did the fans show up on Saturday over under 45,000 in attendance? Oof. Man, I'm gonna say that's a good number, Cruz. I'm gonna give you that one. I will say I'm gonna give it the over. I'm gonna give it slightly at around 46 or so, 46 and a half maybe.
I'm gonna say under at about 40, 41, 40.
Really, 41.
Yeah,
not a bad number. It's gonna be around that number. Yeah, they're gonna have to do some proving to the fan base. I'm thinking week 4 next Thursday against the Fighting Hokies.
Yeah,
that'll be a
if
good
you
way
go
to
in.
get back in.
Losing to Virginia Tech is going to be really bad. Even winning against Virginia Tech might appease some people for a second, but there's really not much of a win-win situation here with either of the next 2 games.
No, you're really not going to get the bulk of the fan base back emotionally into it until you're able to defeat some of at least some of the middle teams in this the Big 12 conference. Once we get into that, Dustin Reed, Hugs needs to email Neil Brown and say F their feelings. If they're not doing what they should, set them down and put in someone else and sign it Hall of Fame Hugs. I like that idea. I've been I don't know what it is. I guess I'm getting excited for basketball season. It's the Mountaineer fan in me getting excited for basketball season early in football season when it goes awry. But I've been watching a lot of Bob Huggins videos and different interviews that he's done in the past. I watched his enshrinement speech, of course, because I was at the game whenever he did that one. And then I went back and I watched whenever he did his press conference when he got accepted as the coach at WVU. But that's the guy you want to embody culture no matter what. He is the West Virginia culture. I don't know. You probably disagree, don't you, Brad?
I like that comment a lot. Actually, I like the Neil Brown needs some more of that. And just pull some asses, piss some people off. You have to do it, or you're not gonna. There is no growth without uncomfortability. Under comfortability breeds growth. So you got to do it.
Yep, you just got to get it done. At the end of the day, you got to get it done, and you got to win. Which this week, it's going to be a little bit of fool's gold. Crew said they actually passed the windows this week. People that enter. Sorry, it's small on my screen. I'm trying to read.
It's all good.
People that enter portal after August 31st have been asked to withdraw until the next window for transfers to enter portal, which is in December, I believe now. Okay, well, so that's good news. So they're starting to make progression towards it. Baxter Mallory, Hogerson and Brown are polar opposites. That's why we went extreme to extreme. And I think that's probably what they were trying to go a little bit different than what Dana was at WVU, and that may be why they did go so extreme in the opposite direction.
For sure.
No. Dustin says, over at first, under for the second half, student section empty at halftime. I would absolutely agree with that. That's maybe even before halftime. They might not even stay that long. Baxter Mallory. He hasn't played 4 games this year, so he can still not play and hold out and hit the portal. Still have over a year to play. Okay, so we're. He hasn't played 4 games this year, so he can still not play and hold out. Hearing my echo. I don't know if that's on yours or what.
Yeah, sorry, hold on.
Playing the video in front of me. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, I was trying to get it pulled up on our Facebook so that way I could see our chat a little bit better, but usually it doesn't do that. I don't know why it played the audio over the stream.
Yeah, mine's a little behind. Yeah, talking about Bob Huggins though, man, I'm getting a little bit excited about basketball season. That's something we haven't really dove deep into yet. We'll get into that in a few weeks once we get the Country Roads Webcast Hoops edition going.
I'm worried.
I'm a little bit worried. I'm a bit kind of like football in a sense as to, I don't really know what to expect. You know what I mean? I think that if anything, we should be a lot different than what we were last year. I like what I see in the size of Jimmy Bell Jr. That's going to be some much needed size down low. I really like that we're getting Emmett Matthews Jr. back. I like the highlights I've seen out of Eric Stevenson. So there's pieces there. I just hope that they can, have.
I just want consistency. I just want something that I can rely on right now to be happy about, and I just don't have it.
I got you. But hopefully they give you something to cheer about this year, man. I'm thinking, if anything, I think we at least go to the Sweet 16 because Hugs has a really good history of bouncing back after he has down years. So
yeah.
If anything,
I do want to say though, I think that I back to football a little bit. I think that I kind of called Caden Prather having a better game last weekend. I said, we leaned heavily on Bryce Ford Wheat and BF Dub. A lot on Pitt. It's been a long week. We relied on him a lot on Pitt because of his seniority and his time. And so I said, I think that we're gonna, try to find that X receiver against Kansas, and Caden Prather kind of started stepping up. And I think that JT Daniels is just going to keep throwing it to him this weekend because we know BFW is going to be great for the rest of the year. He'll probably get his stats in. He'll get 100 yards receiving, a couple touchdowns, and call it a day. But I think that JT Daniels is just going to keep slinging the ball at KP and tell him, hey, catch him. Right now, catch him. You've got to get more comfortable. You've got to start breaking out. You got to believe in yourself. And so I think that JT Daniels is just going to keep tossing them at KP.
Yeah, I hope so.
We need it. We need it bad.
Yeah. Silas in the comments says, gray jerseys Saturday. You guys like them? I love them. I've always loved the gray uniforms. There's a large majority of the fan base that don't, think that those aren't our school colors. But they're actually in our official color wheel and our official school palette. If you look at it, what do you think, Bradley? You like those gray ones?
Yeah, I like the gray a lot. I think that it, kind of touches base with, some coal mining, some mountains, really fits, the state. What I don't like is white helmets. I really hate our white helmets. I don't think they look good in any of our uniforms except for the all white. The white helmet on blue just looks like a pimple. The white helmet on yellow just looks awful. I'm not a big fan of white helmets on colors.
I don't know, man. I'm the opposite. I love the icy whites, man. I think that the white is a nice accent. I wish, if anything, that they would add a fourth and go with the steel gray helmet with the matte. I think that would also look good, and then incorporate maybe a white logo with a blue outline on that, or maybe a blue logo with a white outline. You can play around with it. I know they've done the white stripe in the middle of the helmet with the white logo on the blue helmets, and I liked that look a lot whenever they played Kansas State a few years ago. But we'll go with next comment down. It says Baxter Mallory says, I believe only 43,000 plus tickets have been sold, and not everybody's showing. That's true. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of turnout. It's a 1:00 game, so that gives, I guess, a little bit of people time to show up. It's not so early as when they do it at noon. I wish that they would have kind of done this game more to 3:30 kick. That way it'll give fans an excuse to go, so that way they have time to tailgate in the morning, and then go to the game. But WVU fan 23 over under the defense allowing 17 points this Saturday. I picked 21 myself. I just didn't see enough out of the defense that it showed me that they were going to allow anything under that. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I didn't give a score prediction. I think it's going to be like 42-14. Yeah, I definitely think they score a couple touchdowns. They definitely score a couple points. I don't know if that's on our first team defense. But I expect us, and I expect us to put some new pieces back there. So I'll take the licks where they're at. If I lose a touchdown to Jacoby Spells just not playing perfectly, then I'll take that over giving up a touchdown to a senior that has yet to look good. But yeah, I think that I think JT Daniels scores almost all 42 points. I think that we're really going to try to find a second running back because right now Tony Mathis has not looked great. Justin Johnson kind of looked feasible. Right now, it just feels like we have C.J. Donaldson, and that's about it. I don't know if the second team offense comes in and scores points. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe GG gets a tutty. Maybe Marco gets a tutty. Don't know.
That's one thing I would like to see is get some action from GG and see what not to say that I haven't enjoyed watching JT Daniels, but I'm a fan of Garrett Green, man. I'd love to see what we get out of him. Going back to the uniforms, Dustin Reed, he says the white helmet on color only really looks good on the looks good with the old school state logo. Otherwise, they only really look good with all white or at least white jerseys.
Yeah, I agree.
I like them.
White caps.
Yeah, see, I like them with they do like the white on white on the blue. I like them. I like them with a couple renditions, man. I guess I'm the oddball out in this one.
It's got to be white helmet. It's got to be white tops because otherwise, I just really think that it looks like a bunch of pimples running around, and it just doesn't do it for me.
I don't know. One thing I did see was we went to the Holland Traditions, and they had the old school helmets that they wore, all through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And one thing that I really liked was the old gold helmet with the light blue state outline with the WVU going through it. Or also the white helmet with the logo that they usually do with the outline, but they had a 3D rendition with even a different shade of gold.
All yellow with a blue state sounds kind of sick. Not even a stripe or anything, just solid gold with the state sounds kind of nutty.
I'd also like to see a throwback from the I think it was in the 70s. I can't remember exactly what year, but there was I think it was a 75 Peach Bowl that we went to. Those jerseys I've seen a concept of, and they were very, very clean looking. Candyman says, if it wasn't for the Hall of Fame ceremony, I think even less fans would be there. You might be right. You might be right, brother.
Fair.
Silas, he says, any chance we see Nico for a drive or two? You may, since it's Towson. I think that you might even see Nico this weekend. I think that's something. If anything, that's it this weekend that might get the fans a little jacked up because I know everybody still want to see him. I would. That's something I would really like to see, honestly. Now that you mentioned,
I think you have to see it. I think you have to see Garrett Green play at least a full quarter, if not a full quarter and a half.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that Nico's the future of our program, and I think that we are struggling right now. And I think it was WFan23 in there. Welcome back, man. So you're a big fan. Love that. He had brought up, coaching changes earlier in one of the comments that we kind of bought by. And I said that we should keep Graham Harrell. I brought this up in the last pod that I was on. So the post game that Jordan and I put out on Monday, I think, how I would almost consider. I think that Neil Brown makes it to the end of the year. I don't see any benefit in letting him go before the end of the year. I think that it just would hurt us more than it helped us, no matter what. But I'm worried that the only way we're going to keep Nico is, or one of the best ways to keep Nico would be to promote Graham Harrell, because I think that struggling this much, and it will be his team going in, but no, I'm worried about him leaving, and so he needs playing time. And I think that getting him out there and getting people excited for him, getting some energy back into him, letting him see that we're dedicated to him still, even though this year isn't going great. I think he has to, because I think Chris Anderson and Mike Casaza even brought it up earlier that, Garrett Green goes in for a drive, scores a touchdown, and then it's just the Nico show for the rest of the game. And I could see that because we know what Garrett Green can do. We don't know what Nico can do, and we want to see it. And so I think that if we're up high going into the halftime, then I think that, we get one drive of Garrett Green, and then I think that we're on the Nico show for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I really hope so. I think I don't know if it's a have to thing, but I really do. It's a want to thing for me. I do know that. Just because I've been hearing so much about his improvement. You've obviously heard so much about him going back when he first committed and his whole entire season last year. I really would love to see what he's got for an entire half, to see what he would do against, a college defense, and see what we have moving forward in the future of this program. But I guess we're gonna get close to wrapping this up. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're probably going to do, or we definitely are going to do a post-game show. Will be on the Voice of College Football for the second time. Hopefully this time it's a happier version of what last week's was. But don't forget to check that out. As always, like and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, even on Twitch if that's where you're at. Don't forget to follow us and join in next time as always. But hopefully next time Jordan can join in with us. We hated to miss Cruz. This is probably one of the few times we've ever had to miss Cruz on this show. He hardly ever misses.
I think we did just fine though. I was a little late, but
I'm not as good of a host as he is, but
he does have a knack for it, man. He's got the flow
natural,
down.
man. He's natural. I'm just the natural answer, the question answerer, and he's the question asker. It's just the way of way of life. The way of life, my man. But thank you guys as always for joining in. We will catch y'all next time, and as always, let's go Mountaineers.